GM, who's awake? Okay, we got a few people who are awake. That's amazing. Yeah, welcome to the Wallet UX panel. Let's maybe, before we get to the speakers, let's get to the audience. Who thinks Wallet UX is amazing today? Who thinks it could be better? Okay. Who thinks it's terrible? All right, the next question, before we get to the intros, who here knows what Fireblocks is? Who here has used Fireblocks? Oh, right on. Who knows what Safe Wallet is? Who's used Safe Wallet? And who has heard about Metamask? All right, that's a good amount. All right, let's get to the intros. I'm so thrilled to be here. I think my name's Derek. I'll get to my intro last, but I think Wallet UX and UX and EVM is really one of the biggest challenges, and we have the most amazing crowd here to discuss that today. So I'm very thrilled to introduce Arik, Lukas, and Hester. And Arik, why don't you give a quick intro about you and Fireblocks?
Sure, thanks, Derek.
I guess ladies first, but...
Yeah, so I'm Arik, and I work for Fireblocks. It's great that some people here actually know Fireblocks. In a lot of situations, we're a bit behind the scenes. If some of you, for example, use Revolut, or you use... anybody here played Off the Grid? That's been exploding recently. So like the biggest Web3 game ever. So like those kind of... A lot of times when you use something that uses the blockchain behind the scenes, Fireblocks will be there basically in payments, in stable coins that you might be using, and even if you're just doing trading, the other party a lot of times will be Fireblocks based. We basically provide a wallet and other infrastructures for companies that are building blockchains based products. Yeah, that's on my side.
Lukas?
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Lukas, I'm with Safe. Yeah, what we do is we build account abstraction infrastructure. We're coming from this perspective of like with Ethereum, with like new technology, as it's always the case. It has a lot of potential, but this potential is locked in the beginning because it might be expensive, it might be very technical, hard to use, it may be just not accessible for different audiences. And for us, while the potential is there with like DeFi, financial inclusion, with new kinds of coordination mechanisms, like we still far away from actually having this potential fully unlocked. And we see account abstraction as a key accelerator to making that happen. So smart accounts can really level up the user experience and the security and all of that for interacting with Ethereum as a technology. And that's what we've been doing for the last, I don't know, 6-7 years. Still some time to go, but like I think we made some good progress.
So hi everyone, I'm Hester. I'm standing in for a colleague, actually Adam, who can join. I'm a product manager at Metamask on a team called Wallet UX. Don't kill me. We do what we can. So a little bit more context. Wallet UX is a team that coordinates, is responsible for bringing different units together, features, accounts worked on by a variety of teams. And we try and bring that together in what is to be a cohesive, easy-to-use experience. So if we introduce different account types, smart contract account types, we'd work on how do we actually introduce those in your importing flows, in your account selection. Same for settings and discovery of other features. So yeah, I think that's a little bit about me, and I'm very happy to join these gentlemen here.
I love that joke. Yeah, my name is Derek. I work for a company called Reown. We used to be called WalletConnect. And many of you have probably interacted with WalletConnect. Thanks for using the product. Okay, so first question, let's do a little bit of I'll start with a little bit of a hot take. So I'll claim that account abstraction actually failed. Some data for that is Trust and OKX were the main consumer wallets that actually launched account abstraction. but in OKX wallet, you can't sign up anymore. So, yeah, what do you think about that? Did account abstraction completely fail?
I think we're partially there, is what I'd say. Account abstraction becomes useful, and Wallet UX is about usefulness as well, and it becomes useful when you get the opportunity to control what the account then does. And I think that's the kind of the missing piece, the granting permissions, enabling users, having an interface for users to control what that abstracted account actually does.
Are you going to ship an account abstraction?
I think, so what is very well known, we're working on a framework called Delegator Framework that introduces permissions and permission management for smart contract accounts.
I think account abstraction to some extent is a victim of hype versus reality situation. And like you mentioned, this is one example. The numbers are definitely not there yet for the account abstraction, but the hype is so much there that people kind of expect it's one day to get everything that was promised. Now, the reality is that when, for example, account abstraction sort of launched, which is not exactly something you can do to something like account abstraction, there was no mempool for account abstraction, right? So there was just like an entry point. And that entry point changed, I think, 7 or 8 times since, right? So there's like a product, like they take time. And 4337 was the first iteration of account abstraction that had some level of traction and usability. And I think 7702, which I'm not sure how many people here are familiar with, but I think 7702, EIP 7702 is actually going to be the next phase. And this is something that the Ethereum Foundation is working on right now, like the core devs, not the Ethereum Foundation itself, but the core devs are working on introducing that into Ethereum beginning of next year. And one of the big differences between 7702 and 4337, because we're probably not going to go and talk about the standards themselves, but I think the big difference is that the first iteration of account abstraction was really just looking at smart contract wallets as participating, right? So like Lukas has already kind of been in that game for the last year. But the next version is also looking at EOAs participating. So Metamask can start getting into that game as well, and Fireblocks with our offering and our clients of Fireblocks can also get into that game. And since 99% of people still use an EOA, this inclusive offer, like new proposition, is actually going to be a big boost towards adoption. But we're definitely not there yet.
Yeah, I do think that account abstraction was overhyped massively, but I think it was also necessary because that is the reason that we have like about 10 panels on account abstraction at a conference now. We have a bunch of discussions and like progress, a bunch of builders working at that, and it needed this initial impulse to get things started. But it also, at some point, the sobering effect comes where the big promises take longer, etc. Like for me anyways, the goal is not necessarily the account abstraction part, which is often associated with like the EIPs and the standardization of Ethereum, etc. around it, but it's really moving users towards smarter accounts, because that will unlock the potential for users, that will make them feel more secure, have better convenience, etc. And I think in that regard, we haven't failed at all. Like right now already, just looking at safe smart accounts, they make up 10% of the transfer volume on Ethereum. Like 10%, like that's not, I wouldn't consider that as a failure at all. And that means, obviously there's 90% to go, but like at some point we will also reach a tipping point where like, as apps see that actually a lot of their transfer volume is coming through smart accounts, they start optimizing for it, and it creates this virtuous cycle of like constant optimization, which eventually will lead us towards having every account a smart account, which we should strive for.
Yeah, but even on Safe Wallet, I think you don't support 437 yet in the UI. So the 10% that you mentioned, they don't use the ERC 437 features. Just to like give a cynical nitpick.
I mean, the user doesn't care. The user doesn't care if there's 457 there or not. They care about, oh, my transactions are sponsored. They care about, oh, my transactions are batched together, I have multi-sig, they care about these things. If 457 is the right thing to achieve that, if 7702 is the right thing to achieve that, whatever EIP is coming in the future, I don't care. I want that the user benefit gets to shine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say there's probably like 20 different talks about 4337 or 7702 and just one wallet UX, or like maybe there's a couple more like user UX, but there's not a lot of them, right? I think maybe that's a bit of an indication of the priorities we have currently in the ecosystem, focusing a lot on the details of the different solutions and not focusing enough on like what Lukas just said, the end result, how does that look? Is it comfortable, right? So like that's part of maybe the shift we need to do as an ecosystem.
Cool, then next, can each of you maybe pick your top 3 exciting UX improvements that we're gonna see over the next year or 2?
We're gonna see 3? That's amazing.
Yeah, I can think of 2. I'm gonna rely on you both to add a 3rd, 4th, 6th, 5th. No, I'm thinking 2 of the things I am really excited about is permission management. I think that's going to give a lot more control that users so far have had to rely on Solidity developers to get smart accounts, to make accounts smart or do what you want it to do. And the other thing I'm excited about is introducing more identity components into wallets, being able to track your proofs and credentials that you have shared. So I think those would be my my top 2 picks.
Cool. I think you left a really easy one for me, so I'll take that one. But gas abstraction, right? When people talk about account abstraction, they usually put a lot of things into that bucket. But I think gas abstraction, or sponsored and gasless transactions, are some of the things that are most exciting, because probably a lot of the people in the room don't remember that feeling, because you're obviously very versed in working with blockchains, and sometimes when we're like that, we sort of assume everybody is. But if you go to a website and you want to do something, and I don't know, you're buying an NFT, or you want to pay with basically dollars, right? For somebody who's not part of our ecosystem already. And suddenly somebody starts saying, hey, you need to have Ethereum to make that transaction. That's very, very painful in terms of the adoption of new users for this ecosystem. And by the way, even for us, it happens sometime, right? I had it just recently where somebody, I wanted to complete something. It wasn't a chain that I didn't have the native token for, right? An EVM chain. And suddenly you're in that position you were the first time you used the blockchain. How do I get this gas token now? So I think what smart contract wallets in general and account abstraction as it connects to EOAs brings as well with 7702 is definitely the ability to let users onboard to blockchains without first figuring this really hard thing of getting the gas token. And I think that's just in terms of onboarding, we already see this is very useful.
The good thing is if you go last, you can actually think about 3 things. I would say, from a user's perspective, what the user value we should bring, especially with smart accounts, is around speed, security, and scale. That's really what the user feels from what comes out of it. And there, I think, over the next year, we will see big advancements in all of them. Speed, it's around one enablement for this could be session keys, where session keys allow you to have actually have the wallet be a cold wallet where the key is secure, but you give permissions to session keys that then allow you to do easy interactions with an app without every time signing with your private key directly. That's the one thing. And security part is we still rely a lot on the front end managing the security for the user, where I think with account abstraction, smart accounts, that we can introduce better and harder security guarantees for the user, where like we've got providers like a Blockade, for example, in Safe Wallet. They check every transaction and they say to the user, this is like malicious, this is okay, and the user just trusts the front end there. But like these same guarantees could be given on a transaction level, on a transaction inclusion level, where Blockade could actually say, hey, our engine said this is a malicious transaction. Whatever front end is used, even if you had the private key exposed, we block this, and the only way to then go forward is if you have unpack whatever your social recovery or your backup key or whatever, so that we will see like these advancements in security for the user. And the last one, I would say, is scale, where the user should really do as much as possible with their wallets. And right now we live in silos across chains where it's really hard to migrate between jurisdictions across different L2s, etc. And I think there we also see advancements in like, yeah, the user just has like a single unified balance. They can go to an app. They don't care what chain it is. They just spend the assets there. They can use those assets on a different chain with a different application, and the scale of user interaction just increases massively, and that also requires account abstraction.
Maybe it's worth, like Lukas just mentioned, this multi-chain situation. So I think it's maybe kind of bringing the audience into our situation, right, in terms of getting good UX for users, not just wallets. So this ecosystem was built initially for a single chain. And even as people were thinking about smart contract wallets, for example, the entire idea was you pull the wallet on chain because everything is on chain. And then L2s started to happen. And it's not the wallet's fault, but basically it's my take that when more and more L2s happened, they basically degraded the wallet experience for users, right? Because suddenly problems like I have money on this chain, I don't have money on this chain, but the DApp is on this chain, they didn't exist initially. And now we have a lot of chains, right? Like probably on the panel next to us, somebody's announcing a chain. So suddenly even your Uniswap is on a different chain, and your ENS might be on a different chain, and everything is on a different chain. And that creates a user experience problem because you need to get the user informed of the fact that it's a different chain and he needs to do some action? On the other side, you might hide from him that there's a different chain, but if you hide from him, what if you introduce a security risk as a result? Maybe the other chain is not as trustworthy as the one you have money on, right? So there's a real dilemma between the usability, user experience that you can give to people, and sometimes on the other side is not, I don't want to do development work, it's rather, there's a risk element, right? There's a security problem that you need to account for. So that creates like a very complex process.
So I actually would say it's a trilemma. I think the problem with wallet UX is always you want to maximize on convenience, you want to maximize on security, and you want to maximize on control. Like in Web 2, we figured out how to maximize on convenience and security, arguably, but like people just don't have the control. That's why Web 3, that's why we want non-custodial solutions that users have more control. They can migrate their accounts to whatever solutions they want, etc. But then suddenly, the problem is you can only maximize on two of them, because like you can have control plus security, but that's usually the very technical solutions which then don't bring the convenience, or like cold storage solutions, etc. Or you can have convenient and convenient solutions with a lot of control, but then usually this is too much abstractions and the user doesn't understand what they sign anymore and they do something wrong and the security gets lost. So kind of this trilemma, I think we've been navigating over the last years in the wallet space, and I think there, again, account abstraction, I would hope that it helps kind of managing these trade-offs better, or even enable it eventually to have like all of the three be maximized at the same time. But I think that's that's at least my mental model when it's about wallet UX is these three things.
So we got quite a bit. We got identity, permissions, session keys, chain abstraction, gas abstraction, security. So we got quite a bunch of things. There's going to be a QA later. If you disagree, if you think the speakers forgot something, please put in your hot takes. I'd be curious, I know the amount of Fireblocks users is probably not so huge, but the last statistic I saw from Metamask was 30 million, I think, monthly actives in the last bull cycle. So you probably have a lot of user data. Is that also what your users are asking for? Like, does this come up, chain abstraction or anything like that, gas abstraction?
Yeah, so I think what we get as feedback is related to convenience, to like having a good UX, whatever that means, and it's up to us to then interpret that and understand how those problems might be addressed with account abstraction. Yeah, I'd be doubtful that we're actually getting, like we could do some searches, but I'd be doubtful that we're actually getting demand for account abstraction. So it's our interpretation that some of the feedback that we get can be resolved through account abstraction and better control and security.
Cool. I'd be curious.
I just want to say that Fireblocks has created more than 250 million wallets. Just throw it into like in terms of like the amount of users and stuff.
But I mean, how many end users are in?
So a lot of them so a lot of times what would happen, like Fireblocks kind of has two, when we're talking about models, there's like, well, actually more than two models, but like we can simplify it into two models, where there's like more of a treasury-oriented model for companies that hold a lot of money, and we want to make sure they're secure and that they have all of the things they need to build, and that's like what a lot of people usually think about Fireblocks when they're familiar with Fireblocks. And the other model is more wallet as a service. So a lot of times what will happen is companies will create millions of wallets on Fireblocks for their users, right? And in that we also have, for the clients, the ability to do custodial and non-custodial wallets. So a lot of times what will happen is that the client of Fireblocks will create non-custodial wallets for their users using like MPC technology and things like that, that is underneath the surface to make sure that the wallet is actually still non-custodial for the user.
Got it. Yeah, I want to tap into that a little bit more later, but one thing that fascinates me is Lukas and Safe are massive innovators on account abstraction and smart contract wallets, and one feature of that is that now you can have multiple signers and you can have spending policies and all this. And I'm curious, what is the wallet of the future, basically? Do I still have an app in my phone to use the account, or do I just have a passkey signer and I sign in the app directly? What's the wallet of the future in, let's say, 5 years, and how does it impact your business? I'll hand to Lukas, he's smiling.
I don't know if there's going to be the wallet of the future. Obviously, if it's kind of like sci-fi kind of thing, the wallet is completely invisible to the user, and it just interact or kind of acts on the user's behalf as with an AI agent behind it, and in a very secure way. And when the user eventually at the end of the lifetime passes away, all the assets get somehow routed to the descendants of this person, like a lot of the things that are today not solved, but like I don't know, this is more the kind of esoteric perspective. I don't know if some more product-oriented answers.
No, I'm thinking what remains, especially if we're talking about introducing more embedded wallets, smart contract accounts, is that you continue to have a place which then becomes an evolution of the wallet where you aggregate, search probably through smarter AI interactions, what you've done in the past, what you want to do in the future, what kind of caveats you want to add to that. So it becomes more your control center of accounts. I don't see those fully abstracted away in managing or exercising control, but I do see them abstracted away from interactions that you do with, let's say, dApps or other decentralized applications.
Can I add a bit of a hot take on that in that area? So I think, obviously, like Lukas mentioned earlier, one of the easy ways to provide great UX for users is just be like custodial, right? That's what Web 2 did. And so there's kind of like, as an ecosystem, we're like, we want to enable something better, something different. And there's now this very big push in the ecosystem of everybody being excited about like the wallets that you can sign with a passkey. I wonder like how many people here are excited about the ability to like onboard, have a passkey, just sign it. You don't need to create keys. You don't need to do those kind of things. There's a lot of companies that are building this right now. But I think passkeys are a very big risk of centralization, right? And I don't think anybody talks about it, right? So like, out of the people here who have a passkey or ever experienced a passkey signing, I don't think maybe is there anybody here who created his passkey outside of Apple or Android? Or like actually create, okay, we have like 5, like, okay, that actually created a passkey in their own system. Like you can do those kind of things, right? Passkeys as a technology is decentralized, but we know a lot of times that user habits beat technology. So if you create your passkey in Apple, Apple will back it up in the Apple cloud, and Apple can move it around between Apple devices, but you cannot get your passkey. So if Apple decides to shut down your passkey, you cannot sign. I don't know if that's self-custodial. Like somebody should tell me, I have no idea, but like it's definitely not the fully decentralized world that we imagined. So I think there's going to be challenges. It's very exciting because it gives us the UX we want, but I'm not sure it gives everything we want.
I want to take a hot take on that, or like I want to counter that. Actually, in our app SDK, I think it's the passkey is a convenience feature. The way it's used today, it's a second, it's a 2FA, and that's how it's used in Google, and I think that's how it's going to be used in crypto too. In our app SDK, that also uses a safe smart account for normie users, and it's ERC-437, so they don't need to have gas and whatnot. They first provide their email and then their passkey. So now the email still also can be censored, but ultimately I think the wallet of the future, basically you have multiple signers, and if you have serious funds, maybe you have some ledger in a safe or something, if you in a bank safe. So no, I think the passkey is a nice convenience feature, and I think it's successful as such, and in crypto it's going to be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But I would say passkeys as the primary and only signer of an account, I very much agree that this should not be the way we should go down. As session keys, app-specific keys, passkeys are amazing, but not as a primary key. And
sorry, Hester.
I think Lukas summarized it exactly how I would want to put it, not as a primary solution, not a primary key. And I think like, to add to the point of decentralization, it also kind of reduces global access because not everybody has the ability or availability to use passkeys.
And this is kind of like the process. We need to go through things, right? We get excited about this technology. Over time, we understand, wait a second, there's some trade-offs here, and hopefully new solutions come in, but like that's going to take some time.
Personally, I'm more, with regards to centralization, I'm more concerned about that the way we fix the UX problems, such as smart accounts, is going to lead to more decentralization. Until very recently, the only UI where I could manage my safe core was the safe wallet UI. And today, the only UI where I can manage my Coinbase smart account is the Coinbase UI. Same for trust. So actually, the user now gets vendor locked in there.
But for Safe, this is exactly the thing we didn't want to have. Like Safe is an ecosystem. We were pushing this 200 builders, like some do like more dev tooling, but there's at least 50 user front ends where you can port your account, because that's exactly the risk that we have going towards account abstraction, is that we will lose the portability of our accounts. It's the greatest thing that if I don't like Fireblocks anymore, I hopefully have a way to migrate my account somehow to Metamask or to Ledger, or like this is what Web3 kind of makes so powerful, have this control.
So I shouldn't have called out the Reown UI, for instance, also supports Safe. So Safe is a bad example, but personally, I'm more concerned about these things than the passkey centralization. So Arik, what do you think?
I think that's a great point, right? When you had an EOA, it's just a key. So it's more easily portable, right? There was multiple wallets that allowed you to import even keys, even though there's obviously security problems there. When you import the key, you took outside, like it's already outside of the safe environment. But still, like it was easy to transfer. What we saw initially in the smart wallet space is you could not migrate stuff, right? Like you had a safe, they had their implementation. Let's say you now wanted to move to an Umbire wallet. That was like, you basically had to move your funds. Right, like there was no way to do those kind of transitions because they were not aligned on the standards that are used and things like that. A lot of the work that's happening right now, again, is mostly on the back end of a lot of our communication, right, between us and a lot of other companies, is there different standards are being formed, right? If Safe has one implementation of modules and other smart contract wallets have different implementation of modules, it's hard to reuse model, it's hard to do things. The more standardization that we do, the more portable everything becomes. So there's like the smart contract side of the standardization that a lot of work is being done there, and also kind of giving the props to the WalletConnect initiative as a start and Reown as an actor. What happens a lot of times behind the scenes, and this is how a lot of us know each other, is that the WalletConnect team kind of organizes us to all of the different wallets together, and we talk about how do we make user experience, because eventually there is one app on the other side, right? Like, again, it's always easy to use like a Uniswap, and they need to interact with a lot of wallets. And if we don't align in that interaction on something that a lot of different companies, a lot of different wallets will support, Uniswap will not add the feature, right? Because they're like, if only 2% of my users can use this feature, it's not even worth it. But as soon as we all combine the efforts, both on the client dApp side and the wallet side, we can push kind of like those things forward. So a lot of this decentralization is also about allowing the interaction to be the same, and then you can move wallets without feeling like you lost a leg when you were moving, right? So that's like, I think that's important.
We love you too, and Arik is amazing on the standards, as is Lukas. But I think the smart account, the problem I mentioned, you cannot standardize because there's too much innovation. I'm also talking in my book because Reown are building a library so that wallets can easily manage any smart account implementation and such that users can still rotate. I want to, maybe Lukas has another take, but I want to switch gears a little bit because it's so rare that we have wallets with so many users and different types of users on the stage. Maybe, and someone like Arik who's onboarding new types of wallets. I heard the stat this week and it seemed credible, I don't get it together right, but TLDRs, we penetrated 10% of the market, so 10% of internet users somehow interact with crypto. So that doesn't mean, but there are probably users like myself, like my bank, I have X accounts, but maybe soon I will have 5X accounts because my Chase bank also has crypto. I mean, that's probably Arik's wheelhouse. But I'm curious, A, where are we going to get these 90% from? And then B, does it keep you up? Do you think you can compete, or is someone completely new like Apple going to come away and sweep away the users?
We get them from mobile.
From where?
From mobile, that would be my answer. I don't think we built good enough mobile interfaces yet.
Metamask or everyone? Just kidding.
Generally speaking, no. And I know that's the space that WalletConnect makes a huge difference. But I think that's the growth of our user base. Yeah, and no. Let me pause there. Yeah.
Mobile, yeah.
I totally believe that the biggest adoption comes initially through intermediates. So I don't think what's going to happen, maybe, but I don't think what's going to happen is that we're going to onboard 1 billion users to like if you're saying to extensions on browsers, right? Mobile is definitely one of the things, but I think what's more likely to happen is that companies that already have billions of users, right, and hundreds of millions of users are going to be embedding more and more blockchain capabilities. And as they do, some users will feel the blockchain first time without knowing it's a blockchain, right? Again, like there's a lot of people playing a game that has blockchain behind it, and they don't know, and they don't care. And I think a lot of, it's like #1 in the store, first time it ever happened. And so I think that's what's going to happen, right? I think that social networks are going to bring those capabilities, and I think that, online shopping is going to bring those capabilities because they have so much to gain from optimizing all of their operations to be, or many of their operations to run on blockchains. It's cheaper, it's faster, like they can create better experience. That's why they'll do this. They will not do this because they like blockchains as a concept. They'll do this because they will provide better service to their users and they're going to save money. And so I think that's where adoption comes from. And over time, the people that until now heard about blockchains as the place where people get hacked or the place where price has gone up a lot but they missed the train, they're going to feel the blockchain as, oh, that's why my internet is better now. And hopefully over time we can get them to be, you know, more self-custodial and more advanced users, things like that. But I think that's where adoption comes from.
Yeah, I actually also very much see adoption to potentially come from more custodial solutions first, where like I think we also reached the limit of how many people we can convince to write down the seed phrase and store it securely. But like people are used to like Web 2 experiences. If something, even if it runs on the blockchain, has a Web 2 experience and it has some custodial nature to it, they would use it if it brings a value. And I very much want to see a future where we very much embrace exit hatch as a viable option for things. Where like the source problem that we have today with intermediaries and with custodial solutions is that I'm locked in. Like I have no way out. I have my bank account. Like my bank account is not going to say, oh, here's an easy migration path how we can move from Credit Suisse to UBS. I mean, except just acquiring them. And but like let's say JP Morgan and UBS, they don't have like this interconnection. Yeah, you can send out the assets one by one, or like I know. Rewind your position in your portfolio, etc. But like, there's no interoperability there. There's no exit hatch there. Like, that's what we need. That's what unlocks innovation, better competitive environments for startups, etc. And like, I want to use Facebook. It's fine if it's custodial. Like, it's fine if they manage my social graph, if they do transactions on my behalf, if they have a way to securely authorize. But like, I want to have this exit hatch that if Facebook I know goes down the wrong path, I can take my social graph and port it into some other solution, and I think that's the very thing we should preserve with control. Like if we don't have this anymore, I start doubting why we do things in the first place, because then we will slowly but surely go down the same path as Web 2 had. So this kind of exit hatch value I want to see in the future.
Yeah, there's one I would add that maybe we haven't touched on, which would be stable coins, which we've seen as a force for adoption. Certainly don't hope to see more of that as a root cause to drive adoption, but it's definitely where I think we'll see more adoption happening, access to stable coins in volatile economies.
Interesting. I mean, one thing that I think we're going to see soon with stablecoins is an explosion of stablecoins, yield-bearing stablecoins. So we were talking about, I think, gas abstraction, chain abstraction, but we didn't talk about stablecoin abstraction. But obviously, when I do a checkout on Stripe in USDC and I have a yield-bearing stablecoin, I want to be able to use that. So that's going to be a problem for sure.
Yeah, first of all, I can say we see stablecoin explosion, right? Like, because that's obviously a place where we're very active. But I think, for example, like for me, I don't know, I feel like it's sort of an arbitrage opportunity right now. We have a world with so many coins, and pretty much nobody uses a stable coin that is not the dollar. That's unclear to me, right? Like, it seems to me like something that's temporary and will change over time, because not everybody necessarily wants to be somebody in Europe not necessarily wants to hold his money in dollars most of the time, right? Like, because he still lives in euro costs in that sense, and then he moves automatically to the dollar. Obviously, there's a good thing about it if you're from an economy where you don't trust your coin, but like your native coin in the country. But it kind of feels like weird to me. I think that's something that will be solved. I think over time we will see more stable coins that are on different fiat, connected to different fiat. And we're going to see more of an FX marketplace on the blockchain that we barely see right now. So that's definitely something that will happen. That's by definition will bring more stable coins. And the other thing that will bring more stable coins is that eventually more institutions that the average person trusts will have their stable coin, right? Now, like, again, like we ourselves, we're like, well, we're kind of used to having stable coins. Some of them more trustworthy organizations, some are less trustworthy organizations. But like for the average user, they know their bank. And if their bank has a stable coin, they might just kind of trust it more. So like I think also that's something that will happen. We need to earn trust. And like as an ecosystem, the ecosystem has done a few things that hurt the trust thing. So yeah, definitely going to see a lot more of those. But also, I think more decentralized.
What do you think is going to be the killer app? It seemed like you have some negative sentiment towards stablecoins. I think but then yeah, maybe what's going to be the killer app? Could be stablecoins, could be something else.
No, just to add some nuance to that, I wasn't referring to stablecoins, more the reason for end users to find stablecoins opposed to their fiat stable currency. That was the negative sentiment that unfortunately shouldn't be the driver. Let me think on the killer app.
Because I think what we were talking about for new users, like the next 90%, and they will probably not just have one account, but maybe 100. Another thing might be, Lukas used the example of Facebook, like if Facebook becomes a crypto app, or Instagram adds crypto, like that's a new account, it's a new, so might draw in this, if they build a killer app that might really quickly get us 1 billion users. I think we saw a little bit of that with Friendtech. They obviously didn't get to 1 billion, but I know Telegram is hypothetically a new platform, and they might have app-specific wallets. So I'm curious to see is this going to happen overnight? Is there going to be a killer app drawing in these users, or are we 5 years away from pulling in these next 90%?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had 2 killer apps this year. One is Polymarket, and the other one was WorldCoin, or it is WorldCoin. Like you can say, yeah, Polymarket, it's US elections, probably this adoption, it's going to be hard to maintain it, but like they definitely made it into mainstream media. They were able to onboard a lot of non-crypto users with account abstraction under the hood to kind of have this Web 2-like experience. And WorldCoin similarly, like, yeah, there are some controversies around it, but they onboard a lot of users who had no touch points with crypto before. Like I heard something like 25% of the people in Buenos Aires signed up for WorldCoin, and now it's about them actually making good use of this and funneling this user base to something that's valuable. But like they definitely, like, we're not 2019 anymore, where the only people using the products are the people building the products. We definitely made a lot of progress there.
All right. Final question. Any hot take on UX, on wallet UX? Arik already shared one.
Any hot takes on what, sorry?
Wallet UX.
I think, I don't know if it's hot take. Getting to great wallet UX is a bigger problem than people think, and not necessarily everything works in the same direction. Again, as I mentioned right now with the multiple chains, sometimes you don't just go forward, you actually go backwards. So I think it's really requires a big push from the entire ecosystem to get to where we want to get to.
No, I would just second that. That's a great point. I think when we talk about wallet UX, we often talk about the user interface and things feeling clunky or slow. But I think that's a perception that is a combination of the ecosystem that represents itself in the wallet. That's where you see the fragmentation happening on many levels.
It's like always, we're the one at the gate, so we're the ones that people see. So we kind of hide all of the problems of everybody behind us.
What's your hot take, Lukas?
Try to make it as spicy as possible.
We're in Thailand. So.
No, I love Metamask, and I also like especially what you're doing at Metamask, but I do think a big reason of why we haven't made more advancements in Wallet UX so far is because of Metamask, because Metamask has had too much moat, and generally competition drives innovation, and I do think it changed a little bit in the last 2 years, I would say, but 2018 to 2022, Metamask was just, everyone just integrated Metamask in their app, until WalletConnect kind of opened it up a little bit, leveled the playing field a little bit. Everyone was optimizing for MetaMask, and if one entity always dictates the UX of an industry, that's not good. So like again, like MetaMask is great. Everyone should use MetaMask. You guys are doing a good job. But like I think looking back, there was a missed opportunity that we didn't have more competition in our industry. I think we would have been further along.
You actually got a hot take. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have started with that, but Hester, please respond.
No, I think it goes back to standards. And there was definitely an era where standards were lacking, the kind of wallet alliance dissipated, for lack of a better term. And that was definitely an era that I think we've passed now. There is strong competition, which is a good thing, and I think that's going to drive the UX forward.
Maybe a sign of that is that I think a lot of the early standards around wallets have just been basically reverse engineering what MetaMask is doing, so that other things like wallets do the same, and then you can use both because it's the same. And I think right now what's happening is a lot of the standards is more like communication between wallets and creating the standard that everybody believes is correct. So like that probably signals a shift in that, but like we're definitely not there yet because like, you know, like competition increases, but definitely there's still a big advantage.
I'm quite bullish, I think. I mean, even at this conference a few years ago, people wouldn't talk about UX, you know, now like UX is we maybe wouldn't have had this panel, you know, just a year ago, so I'm quite bullish. And wallets like yourselves are super game. Arik, many people from Metamask, many people from Safe, when we put together an event, everybody get in the same room for a week, you're always happy to provide people, so I think we're gonna be able to fix problems together much quicker. Let's get into Q&A. Maybe a quick clap for the hot take, especially Lukas. That was a good one. Elephant in the room, maybe. I don't know. Curious what the audience thinks. Alrighty. I like the first one. Yeah. And these are rated by how many of you voted. So yeah, let's do the first one. Hester has a take. Go ahead.
Well, I just because of the framing of the question, I don't think it's about 100% decentralized. It's about 100% distributed control, which is different from decentralized. I think distributed control is a worthwhile goal that is achievable. Fully decentralized, I would be highly doubtful because of the fragmentation, because of the indexation that needs to happen for accounts, for networks, for tokens, anything we surface in the wallet. But distributed control of those indexes, I think that's a goal that's achievable.
Centralization is such a sneaky thing, okay? Because at the moment you think you solved it, you most likely just pushed it into a different place, right? And this is what we see as an ecosystem like Ethereum staking. So there's so much work on making solo stakers easy, making this, and then suddenly like a Lido comes in, people are like, oh, we missed that part. And then like, you know, and then new actions happen. So like what usually happens with centralization, just like security issues, you push them from one place to the other place and you need to constantly reduce like those. So I mentioned this earlier with passkeys. I think that's going to be the second place, the other place that suddenly catches us sort of off guard. Then that's going to be solved, and then there's going to be a new place that catches us off guard. So like it's going to be that process where you just move it around between places until hopefully it doesn't have anywhere to hide.
You wanna,
please.
Yeah, I can take the next one with thoughts on Coinbase Smart Wallet. I'm personally super excited that they're working on this. I would have had high expectations at the beginning of the year of where we are now, because like the promise of like Coinbase is offboarding all of its user base, which already has crypto on chain, and they use Smart Wallet for that, and they have amazing innovation there around magic spend, where you can actually use your Coinbase centralized exchange balance on your wallet and spend it with a dApp directly. Like I thought this would be like this kind of opens the floodgates, and now all the Coinbase users are coming in. We haven't seen that actually. There's a bunch of wallets deployed, but like if you look at how much assets are actually used on these wallets, it's quite minimal. I mean, minimum like $1 million or something, but compared to what Coinbase is. But still, I just recently heard that they're doubling down on this strategy, and that's a very good thing. Where like they very much engage with the ecosystem, the wallet ecosystem, especially also the account abstraction ecosystem. They get where things are heading. They contribute to standards as well. Yeah, I hope they will especially embrace the standards that enable neutrality, such as ERC 7579. So we have like an open way to build on Coinbase Smart Wallet, and it's not a permissioned thing. And like yeah, so long story short, thought it would be faster, but still very much excited about it.
Let's go to the...
Just to add one thing, I think it's a very positive indication to our industry that somebody like Coinbase, who has so much control over their users, are willing to relinquish some of that control to advance the ecosystem. So first of all, that's like a big kudos to them on making those steps with slowly, because they're not just making money, they also have this thing they believe in, and they're slowly pushing towards that. We kind of expect now L2s to do that, right, with their like single sequencers, and we want them to move to more decentralized efforts. So it's just a bullish thing for all of us that they're kind of willing to do that effort, so good on them.
I really like the innovation too, but gotta say, like all the exchanges are obviously following that strategy, and they're all doing amazing. Like OKX was really the first large-scale wallet to do an account abstraction wallet. The first one half a year before the second one. Trust, which is also owned by Binance, came along. So I think all the exchanges are doing surprisingly amazing innovation. I'm surprised that nobody's asking what Arik's favorite Pokemon is. I know the answer, ask me later. Not Glurak. Yeah, who wants to take the on-ramp question? I think the questions are great. I have a take on on-ramp, but...
I want to take the next question.
I think on-ramp's been absolutely amazing. Like, there's so many fee-less on-ramps. It's mostly for the West, but the innovation in on-ramps has been amazing. So I think it's gonna, you have a counter?
I think we talked about it a bit as well. Like, I believe on-ramping does in a lot of situations go through somebody who already has user attention, right? And can solve some of the problems that the user has to deal with and just get them more easily into the ecosystem. I believe in that.
I mean, everyone's coming online with an on-ramp. Stripe has an on-ramp. Like, it's not big yet, but like it's gonna be, you're going to have an account somewhere within a custodial solution where you already have your bank account linked, and then you can easily on-ramp. And then one day, everyone will have this magic spend-like feature where I can just source funds from, this is a bit further out in the future, but yeah, I think on-ramp's getting great. Off-ramp, a little bit less innovation as far as I can tell, but still, I mean, there's like Bridge was the big fintech acquisition recently, which makes off-ramp for now in the US easier. In the EU, there's also like this bank account type off-ramp innovation. So very bullish on that. I like the question. Yeah, if you have enough designers.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to. This one.
We are hiring designers.
No, I think one of the challenges for designers, I mean, the space is mind-boggling for any of us, right? Like, there's so much to keep up with. It's the same for designers. I think what really helps designers is being involved as early as possible. You can't design for anything that you don't fully understand. And what I still see often is designers being kind of looped in at the end to add a user interface on top of something that's already abstracted. If you imagine coming into the space now, especially with account abstraction coming, you would have no concept or understanding of how accounts are generated or initiated in the first place.
Maybe the problem is not that we don't have enough designers. I think we don't have enough founder designers. Like, I think that we're such a technical space that a lot of the founders are technical, and maybe like the designer view of the entire company is something like founder designers might be interesting. I don't know how many of those we have.
It's a cool take, yeah. I mean, Rainbow Wallet is very designer heavy. Family launched yesterday, founded by a designer. So interesting take.
I think in the early days also we were designing or building for ourselves as a target audience, like a lot of technical people, and that kind of worked. But I think now we reach a point where we are not the target audience anymore. Like if you want to extend, you said like 10% had touch points with crypto. Like if we want to get to this 90%, we need to build for people that are way different than ourselves. And it doesn't just have to do with designers, it just has to do with having a extremely user-oriented approach to product development. Not solve technical challenges with technical solutions, but solve user problems with whatever is the best way to solve that. And it can involve design, it can be technical innovation, it can be different ways that you achieve that, but like maximize on user value and not on just innovation. And the other part is that our industry very much just likes doing the same thing that everyone else is doing. So we live in narratives, and like if someone else is doing something, we just assume they somehow had some big insights and we just copy them and we do that instead of talking more to our users and actually do what our users tell us to do instead of what our competitors are doing.
Last question and then we wrap. Sorry to put you on the spot, Hester, but the question is the extension wallet going to disappear?
Sorry, which one?
The second one. Is the browser extension wallet going to disappear?
Interesting. I think the interaction paradigm of an extension, the way we know it, might disappear. What you're definitely seeing is everything moving into a side panel, which makes total sense because you have the wallet in context of what you're doing, something you don't have when you're using the traditional extension. Disappearing entirely, I don't necessarily see that happening, just because there are so many use cases that you would want to use on a desktop interface. But it'll definitely, it'll reduce, again, with the use of smart contract accounts. Your mobile might be your primary way to manage your accounts and signatures. Yeah, paired as a companion to what you might still do on a desktop.
Awesome. Thanks all, and thank you for listening.
Okay.
Thank you.